Welcome back to Sovereign Alchemy. I'm Cindy Carter, and here we are in a new phase. But first, I want to tell you about something interesting happening. I'm noticing some synchronicities. A lot of people have been writing in. They've been reaching out and sharing what's been moving them during these 3 weeks of calcination, and it's amazingly aligned. They're seeing themselves clearly. It's really amazing. They're seeing the old patterns surfacing. They're seeing their relationship shift. There's things to rectify. There's things to nurture. And then there's things to finally release. And they're seeing that. And they've been telling me. So this is the work working. It's not a coincidence. And it's not random that you showed up for yourself in a real and honest way. And showing up is really most of what I want to get across to people. Just show up. It's truly sweet to witness, so I thank you all for sharing with me. So we made it through the fire, the calcination. It was hot and it was uncomfortable, but you finally saw, as the ash was laid at your feet after the fire, so now you can carry that experience with you as you stepped into something totally new today. This is phase 2. It's totally new. It's dissolution. Other words for that are dissolving or breaking up or terminating or melting your armor, let's say. And it's asking something completely different of you than calcination did. So really, what is dissolution? This is the second phase of alchemy. And in classical alchemy, dissolution is the process of taking what the fire reduced to ash and immerses it in the water. It softens it. It allows it to release what could not be like burned away in the fire. So the fire then revealed all that was, and the water receives all that was. Kindly receives without judgment. So you lit the match with your right hand, and now in your left hand you will receive the water. The water will receive you. And in your inner life, dissolution is the phase where you're invited to feel what you found that comes out of the water. It's the rawness. It's pure. And it's not here for you to analyze it or fix it or perform any kind of function on it. You're not going to grok it. You're not going to fake it. But you're going to feel it. Feel it in your body and feel it in your mind and give yourself this emotional permission. That's what the water is offering you. It's a kind of a permission portal, if you will. You could immerse yourself in this understanding. So now I want to say something and be kind of upfront about it. Like after 3 weeks of fire and the heat of the calcination and all that adrenaline that was running and all the courage it took for you to look at something clearly, it's kind of exhausting. And you think that you have to continue with that strength. But now you don't have to have the strength. You have to have the allowance. So dissolution is being asked to soften or melt your armor. You know, it can feel really disorienting. It can feel even wrong. It can feel like you're going backwards, like you're losing ground, like, man, are you weak? Or like this is, somehow threatening me. But it's not really. You may want to move forward. Well, this is the path. This is how the alchemy lays it out. It's a science, a spiritual science. So there's this new foundation that was built in your calcination. The fire built this new base for you to work from. So you earned this tenderness. You went through the fire. You earned the right to now be kind to yourself. This is like being the compassionate witness to the self's exploration of going through the flyer and living to tell about it. And now you're going to allow the water. So what does that really look like in a real human life? Well, it could look like an unexpected cry. You're driving, you're in the shower, you're doing something completely ordinary, and something arises, something in your present awareness just triggers you. And instead of you pushing it away, you let it move. This is dissolution. It looks like a quieting. There was an urgency to drive the calcination. There needed to be a lot of adrenaline and fire. You needed to understand things. You needed to name things, to see things, to be able to start to settle these things. And in its place, something comes that's much softer, and it's the willingness to just be with what it is. It might look like grief. Grief is really misunderstood in a lot of spiritual spaces. It looks like weakness to many New Age teachings. But that's truly wrong. It's not even evidence that your work isn't working. You're not doing it wrong. You're doing it right. Grief is completion. Because the emotional finishing that you're going through, you're not storing it anymore. You're finishing it. And it never got to complete itself. It's an electrical charge in your mind and your body, and it wants to dissolve itself. Could you help it along? Could you allow the feeling to come through and then be done with it? It's like your body's finally exhaling what you've been holding in for decades. And I suddenly, in my mind, I see fat cells ready to burst. Like too much information is in there. Too much grief, too much emotion. So you couldn't grieve any of this stuff before the fire, before the calcination, because you couldn't see it clear enough to even do that. So the grief means that the fire worked, because you were clear enough to see what was the truth, the reality of the thing, however dark it was. And you can now dissolve it, that original charge, that original trigger. So here's a real example of what that could look like. Say there's a woman who's doing a lot of spiritual work. She knows all the right words and she has all the right tools. She's read all the books. She considers herself very healed, and she's really seasoned, polished. One day she sits down to meditate, and instead of peace, she feels enormous grief out of nowhere. For no obvious reason, just grief. And sometime her first instinct is to fix it, because she knows how, to breathe it away, to get rid of it, to replace it with something higher, or to identify its source outside the body, Blame it on the aliens. Blame it on the collective. I don't know. Or just bypass it. Those are ideas that people can come up with. In dissolution, the inner work is that you just let it be there. It's uncomfortable. It's unexplained. It doesn't have a name. You don't have to blame anything or anyone. Just give it room. Give it room in your consciousness and your awareness and your body. And maybe 20 minutes later, this thing that she had been carrying since childhood suddenly leaves the room. She didn't have to analyze it. She didn't have to have someone else analyze it. The grief needed to leave. She didn't have to name it. She didn't have to understand it. You just have to let the water move. This is dissolution. And so here's another one, like dissolution could also look like having a new relationship with your intuition. See, in calcination, you were looking outward at the patterns and the programs and what's been running the show, not you. And dissolution turns you inward, so it's like a quieter knowing. It's a softer signal. It's the part of you that doesn't need you to shout about it. It's whispers in your ears, and you're finally still enough now to hear it. After the calcination, after you let the water, you're here, you're still. There's nothing left but to hear this. So when emotion finally moves, when the grief or the tenderness or the relief surfaces and releases, and there's no proper time frame for this, you get to choose. I mean, if you're that conscious and you're that aware that you're actually going through phase 2 of an alchemic phase, you could actually choose 2 minutes or 2 hours or 2 days or 2 years or 2 lifetimes. I mean, seriously, people could stay in these phases for long periods of time as unconscious. But think about it consciously, you get to choose. And when you do choose, something measurable really happens at the cellular level. And you know, I like to talk about the cellular level. One day I'll make a video about why I like that. It's not that I just like it. It's that I woke up understanding it. At a weird level, I could talk to genetic scientists and understand what they were saying. What? But I see what happens in the cell through every one of these phases. So what's happening during dissolution, it happens in the cellular level. You know, all that stored emotional energy that's like too much information that's held in your cells, in your tissues and your muscles and your nervous system, all that begins to discharge in dissolution. It's not so lodged in anymore. It's like cellular housekeeping. You know, sweeping it out, getting it out of there. And it may look like the body's breaking down because it can feel like that. But it's actually clearing space. It's making room for something else to take up residence. You know, you could research on emotional release and see, you know, what the cortisol levels do, what your heart rate does, what your immune function does. I mean, or you could just know that after you've genuinely processed something emotionally and you gave it permission to heal and you gave yourself permission to feel it because your body was designed for this. The releasing of it is not the problem. The suppression of it is. And not giving yourself permission to allow it somewhere else. Maybe you didn't know that you could choose. Now you know. So where do you go from here? Well, a great place in dissolution. Straight to gratitude. Be thankful for what you have after the fire. It's a biological tool for the cells to reroute the old information. It's not a spiritual decision or some ritual or an epiphany. It's biology. When you can find even a thread of genuine gratitude, no matter what it is, for what that experience gave you, even a really painful one, when you find that thread and acknowledge it, somehow the cellular signal shifts. It shifts from loss to growth, from threat to resource, from contraction to expansion. I was thinking of traps. But yeah, not being trapped anymore, but expanding. This is proliferation of a cell and not mitosis of a cell. It's gratitude in dissolution. And it's not toxic positivity. You know, a lot of people do that. They just flip everything to positive. It can't do that. We have to look at it. You have to feel it. And sometimes it freaking hurts. And if you acknowledge that it hurt, that's a conscious recognition that even the hardest things you've been through contributed something to who you are. And that recognition, if you feel it genuinely, it changes the chemistry of you. So here's what comes with the water. After the fire comes upliftment. So you might be feeling as you kind of enter this phase, there's a fear of softening right now. It might mean you're losing ground, but you're not. The tenderness means weakness. It's not. But if you let that fear linger, if you just let it, let yourself feel it, something might come undone. Well, let's look at that. Give yourself permission. But, you know, the sovereignty that you built in calcination through the fire doesn't require you to stay hard right now. You don't have to have armor on now. The water needs to dissolve it. Give yourself permission to dissolve it. And so real sovereignty, the kind that lasts, it includes a full range of expression of light. It's the strength to look and the courage to feel it. Both are required. But they don't cancel each other out. You can't just feel something and not look at it. You have to look at it closely and then be done with it. And so a person who can feel deeply and remain grounded in themselves, that's going to be a really sovereign state. And that human being is going to inhabit a feeling of strength. So you're not going backwards. You're going deeper into the path, deeper into dissolution. And there's a couple more steps to dissolution. But we're just starting. And the deeper we go, that's where the real work is. So when we pull out and look at the macro view of this, you know, we live in a world right now that is so damn uncomfortable in a lot of ways. And people's feelings are all over the place collectively. And we've built entire systems around not feeling through seeing, only feeling, which is our emotional outbursts. Without the truth behind it, you have to see it clearly to feel it clearly. There's a lot of bypassing going on, a lot of overlooking going on, a lot of distraction going on, staying busy to avoid things, consuming blah, 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 to numb yourself. And when feeling doesn't surface collectively, the first instinct, when it does surface, the first instinct is to shut it out. Remember, we talked about the limbic system, the one that goes off first and it fires off, and then, damn, you're triggered. And you want to fix it, or blame somebody, or medicate it, or distract from it, or just explain it away. But here's what I know, a world full of people who have never learned to feel are a completely reactive world. It's an unconscious world. It's people in bodies living on average 90% unconsciously. And damn, that's a lot. A world running on all this stored pain that has no way out and no map. So you see what's happening with people because they're not allowing it. Every person who chooses to move through disillusion consciously, who allows the water to do its work, to sit and feel it, they add something to the collective field that's stable and progressive. It's emotional intelligence. It's genuine compassion and the capacity to present with to be present, with yourself and with other people without crumbling. Because you've been present with your own feelings. So now you know. You granted a permission portal to envelop you. So now you can hold a capacity for compassionate sovereignty. This is the gift dissolution gives you, not just to you, but to everyone you interact with. A higher capacity to feel. So next week in episode 5, we're going to go deeper into dissolution. And we're calling that one, What Lives Under the Anger? Because anger in dissolution is not what it looks like on the surface. Underneath almost every anger is something much more tender, much more raw. And that tenderness is where the real gold lives. So come ready for that one. Take a breath. Feel your feet. Welcome back. Thank you for staying sovereign, and see you on the path.